The situation at Ducati at the moment is a very interesting one. We have three riders in, Jorge Martin, Enea Bastianini and Marc Marquez, all fighting for two remaining factory seats for next year. With all three riders having very valid reasons as to why they should be riding factory bikes next year. But there's only room for two. So who will be riding for factory Ducati next year? Let's take a look, shall we? The current situation we have at the moment is that Pecco Bagnaia has a contract until 2026 on the red Ducati, and Fermin Aldeguer is confirmed for Pramac in 2025 next year. At the moment we have Bastianini on the red Ducati, Jorge Martin on the Pramac and Marc Marquez on the Gresini, a year-old bike. Bastianini's entering the second year on his bike, but last year he was sort of obliterated by injuries, so he never really had the chance to challenge Bagnaia and see how well he'll do on a factory bike. This year he seems back to full fitness though, so this is Bastianini at his best. Jorge Martin is now in his fourth year on Pramac and he's been there since he started his MotoGP career, and he was the runner-up last year and he's probably the favourite to get that red Ducati seat next year. Bastianini and Martin were both actually battling for that red Ducati seat for the 2023 season. In the end Bastianini got it, a decision which Martin felt was wrong and Martin felt like he deserved it more. But he didn't really deserve it. That year in 2022, Bastianini won 4 races on the Gresini, a year-old bike, and finished 3rd in the World Championship, while Martin finished 9th in the championship on the Pramac and got 4 podiums, no wins, and he crashed out of so many good positions. Bastianini got the seat deservedly, but since then Jorge Martin has stepped up his game and has become one of the best riders on the grid, and he is leading the World Championship at the moment. It's sort of hard to see where Bastianini is at compared to him, but if he is constantly beaten by Martin for the rest of the season like he has been so far, you would have to say Martin would deserve the red Ducati seat. Martin himself has said he doesn't want to race on the Pramac bike next year. He clearly has his eyes set on that main Ducati seat, and I don't blame him. He's become a really good rider over the last 2 years. So you'd think it would just naturally make sense to swap him and Bastianini for next year. Put Enea on the Pramac bike if that's what the performances warrant, but this is where the wildcard in Marc Marquez comes in. He's just joined Ducati this year and remember he's an 8-time world champion. He's already shown this season that he's not afraid to have a fight and he will be up there this season, and I still back him to be a championship contender. He only has a 1-year contract on the Gresini, so if he is in a championship battle, Ducati will have to do everything they can to keep him. And he'll probably only accept a factory bike if he does perform well. And if he isn't offered that bike, he may well move team again. He's been linked with KTM recently, and for Ducati to lose a rider like Marc Marquez would be utter stupidity from them, and would probably cost them a world championship or two. If Marc wins races this year and is in the championship battle until the last few races, he simply has to be on a factory bike, especially considering he's on a year-old bike at the moment. So you'd presume with Martin seemingly heading to the red Ducati, Marquez would be moved to Pramac, which theoretically would still be placing him on the second best bike on the grid. Though what would happen to Bastianini? Well, he's been linked with Aprilia recently after they missed out on Fabio Quartararo, and apparently negotiations have already started for that deal. It's been a while since Aprilia, an Italian team, have had an Italian rider, so I think it'd make sense for them to get Bastianini, and I think it would be a good move for Enea, and he'd get the chance to be a team leader again, most likely. So you may think that's where his story will end then. Martin goes to red Ducati, Marquez goes to the Pramac, and then Bastianini goes to Aprilia. However, I mentioned in my last video that the VR46 team and the Pramac team were linked with becoming Yamaha satellite teams next year. Well, since then, VR46 have rejected that opportunity, so Pramac could be more heavily linked with that move to become a Yamaha satellite team, and they apparently have a month and a half to decide what they'll do next year. And this would really open up a can of worms. What would Ducati do? They've already promised Aldeguer a factory seat for next year, but it also seems like Martin also wants that Ducati seat. They'd have to promote either VR46 or Gresini to be a factory bike to get the latest bike, and they might have to sacrifice maybe like Alex Marquez to accommodate Aldeguer. Or maybe Ducati would have to find a new team to become a satellite team. Apparently LCR Honda are also running out their contract this year, so maybe they could become a satellite Ducati team, or satellite Yamaha team. In reality, I highly doubt that Pramac would go to Ducati. They're in such a good position at the moment with Ducati. They won the Teams World Championship last year. Why would they throw that away to go to Yamaha, who are very hit and miss at the moment, and there's a lot of doubts over whether they'll be competitive in the next few years? Pramac have been with Ducati since 2004, and I don't think they would end that relationship to go to Yamaha, who, let's face it, aren't very good at the moment. So that's what everything is at the moment. Of course, there are other riders on Ducati bikes who may impress. We have, of course, Bezzecchi, who finished 3rd in the World Championship last year. Gian Antonio is a good rider. But to be honest, the VR46 team hasn't looked great so far this year. They've sort of fallen off a bit from last year, and Alex Marquez is never going to outperform Marc. So really, it is just between Jorge Martin, Enea Bastianini and Marc Marquez to fight among themselves for those 2 remaining Ducati seats. Martin has his heart set on the red Ducati. Bastianini is looking to hold on to his Ducati seat, with an option available for him to go to Aprilia, and Marc Marquez is there just to sort of cause a bit of chaos really and see what he can do. So what do you guys think? Who will be on that factory Ducati seat next year? Will it be Martin, Bastianini or Marquez? Let me know in the comments. And while you're there, make sure to like and subscribe. I want to say quickly thank you for the support on the channel recently, it's been fantastic. And with that, I hope you enjoyed that video, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.